Hi, everybody. Before we get to another great interview, the Too Opinionated podcast could really use your help. And it's easy, it's free. IMDb, which is the entertainment database, imdb.com, named us a top 100 podcast. We came in at number 82. That's a big deal because there's 15 million podcasts and growing. So to be named to anybody's top 100 list, pretty big deal for us. And the way you can help is to go to imdb.com, look up the Too Opinionated podcast, and that's it. Just bringing our page up. That traffic really helps us out. Our YouTube channel is MeisterCon Pod. All we ask is that you subscribe. It's also free, but that really helps us to attract these amazing guests that we keep bringing on the program. And that's it. 2 easy ways for you to support us, and we would really appreciate the help. Now let's get to that interview. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Too Opinionated. I am so excited today. I've got the team behind Happy Endings Funeral Parlor. Can't wait to talk about it. So I've got Trevor, Kyle, and Zachary. And let's do it this way. Trevor, we'll start with you. If you could give us just a quick introduction and tell us how you got into the entertainment business. All you guys are doing this stuff, and that's a difficult business to get into. So yeah, kind of give me a little background.
Well, I've been in the acting business for a long time. It's how I kind of grew up. I started when I was 6 years old, and I've just been doing it ever since. And this project came to me. Yeah, very young, 6 years old. Now I'm 20, so a long time in my life, 14 years.
Yeah.
And kind of growing up in the acting business is a lot different than growing up outside of it. Obviously.
Yeah.
But the way this project came about, Kyle's a family friend of mine, and he kind of showed me it. And it's an amazing project, and I'm so happy to be a part of it. I'm excited to talk about it, and I'm sure Kyle and Zach are excited to talk about it.
Awesome. It looks awesome.
It is.
And I wanted to mention you've got a brother that's a librarian.
I do. Yes, I do.
Yeah. My son that does the podcast with me is a librarian.
Oh, really?
That's his day job. He's the local county's children's librarian, and then he does all the editing for the podcast in the evening.
Very cool. That's very cool. Yeah, we're very opposite of that. I don't read too many books, but he's a librarian, so I feel like that's how kind of siblings are.
Yeah, but is he like recommending books to you to try to get you to read?
No, he knows I'm not going to read them. Okay. So he's like, no, forget it. I'm not even going to waste my time. But
well, Kyle, how about you? How'd you get into the business? How'd you get started?
I've been in theater going back to high school, and I always loved acting and auditioning. And I lived in LA for 5 years, doing the audition rounds, and been writing a long time as well since college. And Happy Endings Funeral Parlor actually started out. It was a feature I wrote in college, and it's been revised over the years. It goes back a bit, and eventually we took the opening of the feature, and which was 3 pages, and expanded it to the 20-minute short that we just did. So kind of a cool reverse engineering that we did, because in the feature the opening is a very fast opening, and we took it and we're like, well, what can we do to kind of add the chaos along the way?
Yeah.
And that's how it, because we couldn't figure out what to do.
Did you write it like as part of an assignment for class, or did you just happen to be in school when you wrote
it? It actually, originally I was in advanced screenwriting in college, and I was already wanting to write it, and then I did use it for an assignment, kind of the earliest draft of it. So it did start there and then evolved over the years.
The question is, what kind of grade did you get on it?
Terrible marks.
The first iteration had aliens in it, but he needed that for class, and there was like a lot of explosions, and he learned it was too expensive.
Well, yeah, you start real. That wasn't the first feature I'd written. It was the second, and the first one, thankfully, no one hopefully will ever see it. I hit it or burned it or threw it out. But you got to get through the first one. You got to.
Well, that's right. You got to get something on paper. You have to have a starting point.
Yeah, you're just working out the kinks. When you get into the second one, if you've really beat yourself up in the first one, you'll see how far it keeps getting better and better the more you do it.
That's exactly right. Well, Zach, how about you? How'd you get started?
Yeah, I think why they consider it late in acting world, but it's like not late in any other profession. But I never did anything in high school. I always wanted to. I never was a part of the theater tribe, although I respected it and I loved going to it. I was a big runner, and everybody thought that I was going to go on and run and race in college, and that's kind of what I was going to do. But I decided to tell my parents and kind of where I'm from, also just like, hey, I'm not going to do that. I don't like actually hate that. So I'm going to go and try to act. And they were all super supportive, but they're like, what do you mean? You don't know what you've never done that.
Yeah, what's your backup plan? Did they ask you that?
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's like, what's plan B? And I gave that line from a million movies. There is no plan B. It's hopeless, ride or die, baby. But I auditioned for schools, and I think to everyone's surprise, including myself, I made it in, and I ended up at USC. I did a double major. I got a BFA in acting and cinema studies.
Yeah.
And then fast forward, I was working through college kind of to help pay for it at Chateau Marmont, which is a famous hotel. It's still on the Sunset Strip. And I ran into a guy named Kyle, and we sat many hours into the wee hours of the night and just talking. And so that was my first meeting with him. And then fast forward to like another probably 3 or 4 years later, Kyle moved back. The world was in what we all know it was in. And then we like reconnected, and it was really cool. And he's like, I was thinking about you, and what are you doing right now? And then I was like, yeah, me too. So that kind of became the first iteration of what this is. And we were tossing around ideas and scripts that they had and things that I was working on or that I had. And yeah, so it's just kind of crazy to think that I think the universe kind of connects the creatives in the right way. And if you're working with people that you love and you respect and you think are talented and cool, it'll make it a lot better. And so through that, I obviously met Trevor, and then that's kind of the domino effect of the whole project.
Yeah.
Like,
I do believe the universe puts people in your path.
I hope so. I hope so. For
I always
better,
tell this. I'll tell you a real quick story. My wife, we were both married previously before we got together, and back in the 90s, I ran comic book stores. I owned a couple. That's how I put myself through school. But her ex-husband took her in high school on their first date to my comic book store. Right. So I didn't know either one of them at that time, but that's how I met them. And then years later, we were working together, and still married. And then we got divorced, individually, still like knew each other, but didn't really care for each other, to be honest. But the universe just kept kind of putting us, in situations where we were around each other. And over time, we're like, fine, we'll go out. It's been 20 years now, and we're still there.
Amazing.
So. And we keep running into each other. I don't understand. In my bedroom, I'm like, what the heck?
You gotta pay attention. The signs are like right in your face sometimes.
You again?
You gotta trust it. When you get those signs like that, you start. If I feel like when it's right there, if you don't start tuning in, you miss it. And sometimes it's like right there in your face. It's like, come on.
And sometimes you miss it. It doesn't come back around.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to take advantage when that happens. So Happy Endings Funeral Parlor. Let's start there. What's it about, and where did the name come from?
Should I take? Zach, you want to take this one? So I got to think about the name for a second, where I came up with that. But the background actually started from the inspiration was actually kind of a tragic story. So I lost a childhood friend in my neighborhood growing up. He died unexpectedly from health complications, and I wound up being a pallbearer at his funeral. And that was a lot to process at a young age. And I feel like the whole neighborhood was there, and everybody was kind of just like shell shocked, and nobody could cope with it and process it. And it was the first time really facing death and trying to kind of understand that. And it was kind of the genesis. Ironically, this is a comedy, but I feel like comedy is kind of the best medicine when you're dealing with something so heavy and emotionally taxing. And I feel like a lot of people, like I'm assuming we've all been to a funeral at some point. And
of course,
the first thing it's so much emotional weight by the time you get out of there, you're like, just give me a laugh, like just anything, put something funny on. I just, you know what I mean? So that's where this crazy idea started spiraling with the funeral parlor and kind of these brothers. And it's kind of like, well, what happens if these guys are kind of screw ups and they're working for their uncle and maybe the business is kind of failing? Because I feel like it hasn't really been seen. And there's been a couple of comedies that kind of dealt with funeral homes and some great TV shows like 6 Feet Under and stuff, but I had never really seen it kind of as a buddy comedy, and seeing a failing funeral parlor and kind of two brothers trying to help their uncle keep things together. There's that whole family bond there. So that was the genesis from real life circumstances. And then the title was basically, I was trying to come up with a funny title and I went through like 10 of them. None of them were working. And somehow it just clicked one day because I was like, there's gotta, and it hit me, and it was like Happy Endings Funeral Parlor.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
it.
I love
and
that.
That's been the title since.
I love that. And I love the idea, because we've all been in those situations where you lose somebody kind of unexpected, and it's just miserable for everybody with that. Yeah. And at some point you end up kind of laughing, but feeling a little guilty about, having those light moments because it's kind of a dark time. But I think when I go one of these days, I hope everybody is there having a good time. I don't want it to be a sad occasion. And I think most people would agree with that, given a choice.
Yeah.
I think all of us would see the humor.
Beer, a little disco, prop
Music.
me up, maybe have like an animatronic on me. So I'm kind of like, I have like
maybe a stand-up comedian. Maybe a stand-up comedian should get up and do jokes.
A puppet.
Yeah. No, but it is kind of true, right? I mean, like, what's weird is that, I mean, I understand like death is hard for all of us, but it's also so universal. And what's wild is that we're all going the same way, right? So I think if we can construct, our own ideas around it, I think it doesn't necessarily have to be an all-time negative type thing. And we can, I mean, I guess like celebration of life, people say, or something like that. But I think it is kind of true in a weird way, is like, in a way, there's comfort in the fact that we all end up the same, I think, at least. And so if we can change that to, it's not a positive, right? You don't want to lose somebody, but at the same time, it's like, this is going to happen. And it can also be okay to have it be funny in a way, and ironic, and, all the things that we kind of suppress. And so I think that this script, but certainly the feature, highlights, the heart and beauty of death in a way, but also the irony and the funny behind, losing people that we love and being around it.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah, I actually kind of love that sentiment. Not always easy, but I think all of us can enjoy a feature going through the ridiculousness, because at some point, whether it's at a funeral or a wedding or something hilarious happened to all of us.
Something's gonna,
that it shouldn't have happened at that time. Probably wasn't appropriate, but it was hilarious.
Right. Yeah. And then also, like, you think of people that deal with death daily, right? I mean, like, hopefully to all of us, right? At least to me, it's like, I'm not at a funeral home every day, or I'm not, I'm not losing people all the time. But when there's people that live in their job is death, right? That's their business. So, like, to me, that's funny in itself, is that, it's like, oh man, his tie looks a little weird. It's like they're talking about a dead body, but like, so to everyone else, you wouldn't think that way, but they're like, we could have done that a little better. And I just think that there's something like funny and ironic also about people that just live in the business of death, I guess.
You don't really think about it, but that's they're in it every day. And if that they're finding some humor in it, if they didn't, they probably wouldn't last very long.
Somebody's got to do it, right? And it's like this film's kind of also like a nod to people that have to do this for a living, because not everybody most people wouldn't be able to deal with it.
That's right.
I mean, I don't think I could. I mean, I can't even imagine just being around death all the time. But these people are awesome because they took the job and they do it, and they get these people the service they deserve, and they get them all dressed up and looking nice for the family. It's a whole thing.
We also talked to like different funeral parlor like directors and some things like that, like people that are running these, right? And they're all like very cool, eccentric people. But if you talk to them, it's like average year, the stuff that they do, Like we were talking to these two ladies in Iowa, and they were amazing, oh, so sweet. But they were just talking about even like, yeah, we'll get a call out in Dubuque. We got to go down there, and and this guy's just keeled over, and he's half over in the shower. It's like you just get him out of there, and something about that, I was like, wow, this is intense. Like you guys really go through it.
Well, yeah, and they've probably been through it so much it's no big deal to them. Just every day.
They need the humor because they're constantly, it's just heavy all the time. Yeah. They're just around it. So I feel like it's kind of a tribute to them too, people that work in the industry.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So Trevor, what's your role in the film?
So I am the son of the family, and I can't say too much about what goes on in the scenes that I'm in because I don't want to spoil anything, like Kyle. But I play, it's a funny role, and I'm glad to be like a little like comedy part of the role, like you guys said, give some light to the situation around like death. And
so are you one of the brothers, or are you like a kid of the brothers?
Well, I'm the son in the family, so I'm a brother of the sister, son of the father and mother. But
there's a family that gets pulled into. Zach and I play the brothers, Johnny and Marcell, and yeah. We accidentally pull this innocent family into our nonsense and our chaos because of our our ridiculous mistakes. So he's in this innocent family, like the most innocent, sweet family, and they're just going for like a family vacation, a drive to the lake, and they cross paths with us.
I read some of the hijinks, let's say that happens, and just reading it had me laughing out loud. So I thought the humor in it was pretty well done, and I don't want to give anything away, but there was a couple of them I thought that's funny.
Awesome.
Like if you thought about that happening, and it seems like it's possible, like that could happen, it's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's the thing too. Like those stories. I mean, the stories that we hear from these funeral directors. I mean, it's not even far fetched. Like this kind of like this was. I mean, we've heightened some things for sure, but like these women were telling us some stories, and I was like, that can't be real, and they were just deadpan telling us these stories. So I think it is fun that it can happen. It can really happen.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Are you doing the so is it doing the film festival route right now?
Yeah, we were really lucky. We just came back from New York. We screened at Soho International, which was an awesome festival, great experience. And we opened at LA Shorts International, also a wonderful experience and festival. Yeah. We opened there, and then a few weeks later, we were in New York for Soho, which has been amazing to open in LA and then New York. And we've entered a lot more, and we're excited to see what other film festivals we get selected for. So we've actually that journey is just kind of ramped up with these first two openers.
I think that's such a fun time going around to the festivals because you get like honest feedback, because you're meeting with I guess. Not exactly the regular fans that you're going to see, because not everybody goes to the festivals, but the ones that do, they're very involved, and they're very, they look at their as their time at a festival as it's kind of their duty to let you know if that film's any good or not.
That's right. Yeah. They're the most vocal people ever. It's actually insane. Like the thing that's crazier to me is that for the most part, people in the audiences recognize that the filmmakers are probably there, but they're still like, you'll still hear people be like, well, now come on. Not for our film, but I'm just saying, like, I would hear, like, you hear people be like, I don't know about that one. It's like, geez, those people are probably like right next to you,
No filter.
No filter at all. But I think that's also what's really cool about it. And it's almost like stand up that way. And what we found, or what was like really kind of shocking is, Kyle and I and Trevor, like we had seen cuts of the movie. Actually, Trevor, you saw it. I think you saw it for the first time in Soho, right?
No. I saw it at Kyle's house.
You saw it at Kyle's house. Okay.
I screened it. Yeah, we screened it.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, but like for the most part, when we were watching it, it was a lot of decisions that we were just making ourselves and just going like, does this read? Does it not? So we really didn't know. So the first screening, like if you're a studio, like you've tested your film 30 times, re-edited it. But for independent filmmakers like us, that the launch of that thing is really, that's it. Like we can recut what we could, but end of the day is like, that was kind of our launch.
Yeah, this is it.
There's a lot of like okay, here we go. I hope it. And what's fun, and I think like we can probably all attest to it, but it's like they laughed at things that we would have never guessed they would, and then other things that we were like, this is gonna get them so good. There's like just like
New York was
whoa,
great, man. It was a
whoa.
huge. We got some big laughs in places we just did not expect, and then some of the stuff that we think is the funniest, because obviously we're close to them. We're so close to material. Like we think, oh, this is gonna hit, this is gonna land. Some of those jokes, some of those moments got light laughs, and then some of these random moments that we didn't even expect would get the biggest laughs. So that's what's really interesting and amazing about that experience. Screening in a packed theater with strangers, people that it's not, I mean, we had some of our family with us, which was amazing, and a few friends, but most of that theater, we complete strangers and other filmmakers. Our competition was in there.
That's kind of terrifying, actually.
Yeah.
A little bit.
It's exciting for sure. It's like your mom picking headshots, you know? My mom's like, I like the smile one. I'm like, I know you do, Mom, but that's not what's going to sell.
That's not going to sell. Yeah.
We don't really know, right? And we're like, all right. But I think when you're sitting in there, I mean, at least for me, I like sitting way in the back, and it's not a pleasant experience, even if I love what I have or what I've done. But I think it's really important. And as filmmakers, I think there's such like philosophical version of actor, producer, director, writer that's always talking about movies and all these things. But until you're actually out there making film and putting it in front of people, to me, like that is what makes an artist. If you talk about it, you're an academic. If you do it, you're an artist. And so like I would just, anyone that listening that likes doing film and things like that, like just get it out there. Like even if it's you want to fix 50 things, it's like just make it, because that's the like
I've wanted to make this movie since college, and to Zach's point about that, it was kind of my baby, and I had it in my back pocket, and I've written 5, 6, 7, 8 features since then, and shorts and TV and everything else. But ultimately that's always been my baby. And when I brought Zach and Anthony Theodorakos, our other co-writer, when I brought those guys on with me, I mean, I had such a level of trust with their tastes in comedy as well. And we worked together, and it was amazing. But I came to the realization, I basically said to Zach, I was like, we got to get out and do this. We just have to find a way to get out and do this. And we did it we figured the only way we could really do it ourselves was as a short, and that's where kind of that whole thing expanded out. But get out and do it however you can. And we were so blessed to have to be able to raise a little bit of money to get it done. And we had such a support team, and because we didn't have much. I mean, this is a grassroots production. We have no studio support. We had to do it all ourselves.
Is the plan or the hope to make it into an actual feature, or I think it would make a good series.
It's funny you say that, because our whole crew kept saying that while we were shooting in Iowa. They kept saying, man, if you guys thought about this as a TV show, and it kind of just like light bulbs went off. Like Zach and I looked at each other and we're like, this would be a great mini series. This would be great. I didn't even think. Yeah. So we actually did flesh out a TV Bible, and because the material works so well, the feature script is ready to go, and we hope that we can get the feature going first. But we did flesh out a TV Bible that works wonderfully as like an 8-episode miniseries. So very blessed that the material can go either way.
Yeah. It's also like a really cool position, because the thing is, for all of us, I mean, Trevor, he's been working in huge TV shows and film for a long time. Kyle and we have a lot of experience at this point, right? But I think that ultimately, this is the first time where, like, I'd worked for one of the biggest casting directors in LA for a long time. I'd worked at a huge studio. I did coverage for all these things. And this was kind of the first project where we could test ourselves and go, look, from inception to completion, can we do it? And our answer, in my opinion, is yeah, we can. So I think the next step of this was like a culmination of working on really big things, like in support, and now kind of doing it ourselves. But I'm really excited for all of us, because I think we're in a position now where it's not a matter of if, it's just getting those pieces together. And in terms of the creative, the writing, the budgeting, all of that is done, right? So this is not like, it's not like, well, we would love to be able to maybe create. It's in a position now to roll, right? So now we're just getting the finalized pieces that we need in terms of investment.
That's exciting.
It's exciting, yeah, and it's also terrifying, right? It's like, but this is the thing with any movie, like even at the studio level, it's like they're constantly doing the same thing.
Yeah.
But I just think there's a lot of power in independent artists going out there and getting it done, and like believing in each other and believing in what we're doing. And like Kyle and Trevor said, this is definitely like grassroots, but we're also like dangerous that way because we're mobile and we're capable. And so to prove to
Well, it forces you to have a good story.
yeah, I mean,
because you can't rely on special effects or anything.
right.
So the
And
story has
sometimes
to be
like
good.
those restrictions are what make a movie so cool, like
Yeah.
Clerks, or you know, like all of our heroes, like Blood Simple, things like that.
Yeah.
I mean, those movies, like they made them with nothing, but it shows that imagine what you can do then with everything.
Well, and
Oh, for sure.
you've got a terrific cast. I saw Spencer Breslin. We've had him on the show that was in it, and
Nice.
Corbin Burnson, one of my favorites. You know, I've been rewatching Psych, so I've kind of been enjoying his work. But yeah, talk a little bit about that cast.
Oh man.
Yeah, they're like, so our process for this, first of all, it was a miracle because we shot this movie 2 days before the actors strike. So literally we wrapped
Get under the wire.
Literally 2 days later, no one was out, like none of them would have sent their actors. But I'd also say I'm really proud of all our actors. I think they're all amazing. Cassandra Skirbo, Katie Sarife, they're all I love them all. The thing is, Kyle and I, we were really intentional. A lot of them are my friends, like personal friends outside of Corbin, who we didn't know. And Kyle and I can tell you 50 stories about how he's literally the guy. And the thing is, and I just want to speak, I think, to that for like a second, is that there's champions in this business that have been around a long time. And I've been around a lot of them, and they either suck or they're really cool. But like when you get a person like Corbin who shows up and not only knows all of his stuff, but he's 100% committed to being here. And now we're small in the middle of nowhere. I mean, my nowhere, I love it, but still, like, you don't know. And so like having his professionalism on top of his charisma and all these things, like it saved our movie. Like there would be no version of this. Like we had one day with all of our with Eric, Katie, everyone flew in on the same one day to shoot.
One day, all the stars.
The
day.
funeral thing. We didn't have any contingency for rain. We had no contingency.
I was going to say that's a quick shoot.
So we're like, everybody get out there. You fucking just shoot the movie. You know, just roll it. Roll
less than 24 hours. Less than 24 hours with Corbin.
Throw that in if we lose it.
Less than 24 hours with Corbin on set, and he just a shout out to Corbin was incredible to work with, the nicest guy in the world, and his agent Todd Eisner, you're the man. You guys were tremendous. You saved us because 2 weeks before we shot, 2 weeks we're on the ground in Iowa, Zach and I, and we're losing our minds because we actually lost our original actor for Uncle Nicky.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Thank God.
We thank God. We won't drop names, but we called every actor's agent in Hollywood that was in that age range that could play Uncle Nicky. I mean, we talked to everybody, and like people would blow us off. They wouldn't get back to us. We could not get a straight answer out of anybody, and we made the offer, and people would just didn't care.
Yeah.
And finally, we came across Todd and Corbin, and they were amazing. They read it, they loved it, they were straightforward, they signed on. And a quick thing about Corbin, he's an actor's actor. He stayed on set with us when Zach and I are just a scene where we're in the office with him, and he had already done his coverage, and they turned the cameras around and they were doing our coverage. And a lot of these, a lot of big stars, they just go to their trailer and you're like acting to like a tennis ball on a stick. And Corbin's like, they were like taking him away from set. And Corbin's like, no, the guys, I'm staying here with the guys. I'm going to do their coverage with them. And he sat there off camera with the script and gave us the reactions, and it made the scene so much richer because he was there doing the coverage with us.
I mean, that's just somebody that gets it. He understands. He's probably been there and had to do it without somebody giving him coverage, and he knows it kind of sucks. So I love actors like that because they just get it.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, he was a champion for sure.
Kyle, did you do did you direct, or did you have somebody else do it?
So Kevin Boston is our director. He was awesome, great dude. He came from primarily a lot of heavy hitting big music videos, and then he's made his way into the narrative space, and he did a tremendous job for us. I'm glad I'm not a director, and I'm glad I was not doing that, because Zach and I were practically, we were running around with our like chickens with their heads cut off because we were pulling triple duties on set. So thank God I wasn't directing as well.
Well, Trevor, how was it filming? You know, all people coming in for
honestly,
one day. How was
it sucked.
It was terrible. Worst experience ever.
And listen, I didn't want to be here.
No, genuinely though, like Zachary was talking about, like seeing how it's grassroots and seeing how like growing up on like big shows and stuff, like network shows, and having that big support from a network, and then going to like, I've done shorts in the past before, but this is a short that I've done where it's like, it feels like you have that network, but you have the freedom of not having the network. And that's the big thing when you have a network behind you. You don't have the freedom a lot of the time to do the things that you like might want to do. You might want to say like something, you might want to throw a line in. Like I'm sure there's things that a studio wouldn't let Kyle like put in a script. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, because the studio, they're going to have input.
Right, exactly.
Good and bad.
Yeah. But when you're the studio, you get to make it so much more like funny. It's just funnier. And you can see that when you watch the short. You can see how it's like, but the quality is still there. That's the big thing. The quality is still there. And that was the big thing that I noticed.
A tribute to early 2000s, a lot of the buddy comedies, early 2000s. I feel like we kind of tribute that era of comedy. So, the 90s and the early 2000s, some of the greatest comedies I think of all time. Even the studio comedies, the big studio comedies were incredible in those eras. And we just kind of wanted to do a little tribute to that style as well.
Yeah, I kind of love that because we don't have as many of that, those type of shows or movies now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not to bash like nowadays, but I mean, the truth is like, it's a lot of Walmart stuff. A lot of the money spent, it doesn't go to the screen. It doesn't go to the script. It goes to arbitrary stuff that doesn't look good. And end of the day is, you know, Trevor, that's so true because the thing is like, whether you like or hate this film, we did it how we wanted, right? We made a version that we wanted. And to me, like that's pretty cool to be able to say. And for what we made this thing for, like you wouldn't even pay one actor on a network show. Like it would be worth more. So to me, I'm going like in a way, and again, I mean this like out of respect, but I watch a lot of this stuff and I go, man, you had all that resource and this is what you make. Like that's, to me, that's disrespectful. So to people like me, Kyle, and I know Trevor, I think so too, is like, we're just like, we love cinema. So making this stuff, I think, you know, as we keep moving up, I think in a way we can actually put pressure on the studio itself too and go, guys, like,
storytelling is everything.
This amount of money to do that, like it ain't worth it. You know,
you can throw all the corporate money you want at a TV show, and you can throw an insane amount of endless money at it. But if there's no heart in that script, and the characters aren't fully fleshed out, and the audience isn't going to resonate, there's no heart, there's no soul, there's no bones to it. I mean, you're just watching flashy camera work as far as I'm concerned, on TV. It's exactly. Not, you know.
Yeah, for me, it's always been the dialogue, the character development. That's the best part of the movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and we kind of got away from that for a little while. It just kept bigger and bigger special effects, and it's kind of tilting back the other way now. You know, we're not seeing as many of the big budget, tentpole type of movies.
I really think and I've talked to a lot of people about this, and I've noticed it and read stuff online, and I feel like a lot of people right now are watching a lot of older movies and TV shows. I feel like, there's a huge 90s. I mean, I'm biased because I grew up in the 90s, but I absolutely love the 90s and the early 2000s. And I think some of the content, some of the film and television was just top tier, with heart and soul, great acting, great everything, great directors, great camera work. It was all there. It was all firing on all cylinders. And I think that people are rewatching a lot of this older stuff because a lot of the new stuff is, it's well done and it's polished, but again, a lot of the scripts are kind of empty or they're lean. I don't connect with characters. I'm not feeling the heart and soul, and I get lost. I'll watch a Marvel movie if I can connect with the characters, the heart and soul of the thing. And a lot of times I can't with those movies. So they don't grab me the same way. They're well done, but I don't, and I like a lot of them, but I think that if you get lost in all the pizzazz and you lose sight of the script,
well, that's why you come out of those movies a lot of times and you can't quite pinpoint what you didn't like, but you just don't come out of it saying, oh, that was a great movie. You come out and you're like,
right.
It was okay.
There's not that connection.
And also, to me, right, like a good movie is first and foremost entertainment.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It should be a good time. Like,
Yeah.
people, I don't understand. Like, I think there's been a transition now in a weird way where it's almost like we've made it into something else. But to us, we always say, you know, if you leave this movie and you've laughed and you had a good time and you're glad that you bought your ticket and it was fun.
Yeah.
First and foremost, was it fun? We're putting the fun back in funerals. That's our model. But really, like, if you can leave the movie, then we've succeeded. And anything else that's additional, great. Then we've served other areas. But I think yeah, I mean, one of the things we want to push, and even in like the funding of this feature, is we want to build back an identity of a good time, a fun experience that people can leave laughing and, you know, feeling good
Yeah.
about. That's what we ultimately want.
Like I mean, just off the top of, I mean, like Dumb and Dumber, Tommy Boy, Wedding Crashers, like any, just I'm just
Early
throwing
Adam Sandler.
just anything, early Adam Sandler, like any of those movies. I mean, you could be in, people would go to those movies to escape reality and the stresses of daily life. They go to those movies to have that hour and a half to laugh and step into another character's shoes. That's what it's all about. That's it's a journey, it's an adventure, and if you leave having a good time and you're in a better mood and you can talk about it with your friends, there's stuff to talk about. I mean, that's where I feel like you really succeed as artists when you've got the conversation going.
Yeah, I agree with that. How like how married were you to the script, the dialogue? You know, did you let actors ad lib a little or try those fun takes? You know, how did that work?
There's a scene in this movie that was, I think there's a scene in this movie that, well, for like 25 minutes, Kyle and I were in the hearse, which we bought, by the way, which we own. We were in the hearse that we own, driving on a process trailer, getting pulled behind this process trailer, and we couldn't hear. We were supposed to, we had like a little beacon that they could like speak to us through the thing, but they were just silent for like, so I turned to Kyle and I was like, I don't know if we're allowed to swear on this, so I just won't, but I was about to say that. But anyways, I turned him and I was like, fuck it. I was like, fuck it. You know what? Like, let's just start going. And so there's like a scene we were like 25 minutes. We were just improving, you know?
Yeah.
And I think
some of it's in the final cut.
Some of it's in the movie. Yeah.
Yeah. Some of the improv is, the open. Yeah. There's parts of that conversation were just ad lib. We were just spitballing. And it was, I mean, we had a lot more, but we had to cut it down for timing, but we had a blast. I mean, riffing off the script is one of my favorite things to do in the world. Is just
how do you tell when too much is too much? You know, like it's about 20 minutes long. You know, why not 30? Why not 40? You know, what's too much for a short?
Yeah,
that's a good
yeah, I mean, I know, to be honest with you, in my personal opinion, is like I would love our short even tighter. I think like I mean, if you're watching something, you can always make it a little tighter. My hero is Sam Shepard. He talks about like, this is a completely different genre space, completely different thing, but he talks about like he way overwrites and then he just takes it and he like smashes it into like a tiny bit, right? And I think that's kind of always the thing, is you have what you think is funny, but it may not structurally serve the feel or that fun, right? Like it may get too arduous over time. So I think it's like, it's cutting it down and just mining, as we say, like the best bits and best beats.
Yeah, that's so important, because you know the trend now seems to be to do the longer movies. You know, we have a lot of 2.5 to 3 hour and sometimes even longer movies, and I always wonder that. I'm like,
I'm so glad that people still have
down a little bit.
Yeah, I'm really. I mean, that sounds amazing, because I'm so concerned with our attention spans dwindling down. So the fact that people are seeing longer movies, that's impressive to me. Amazing. Yeah. I mean, we're under 20 minutes, which I think is a really good sweet spot for us, because I guess in terms of festivals, they consider shorts 40 minutes or under generally. And I'm glad that we're 19 minutes and some change. And I think I mean, I agree with Zach. Sure, we could maybe tighten it up a little bit, but I'm really glad. I think we're at a good sweet spot for the festival circuit.
And you want it long enough to catch people's attention, but not so long where, like, if you have stuff that's maybe it's good, but it's not as good, you know, as some of the other stuff that you left in. You don't want stuff, because the goal is to make something bigger from this. So you want all the good stuff in there without people getting, you know, kind of
losing them.
Well, it's
Yeah.
also okay, this is kind of sacrilegious to say, but I will just say this for other filmmakers going through it, and I want them to like have the best shot they can. And we've learned all along the way. So if this can help somebody making a movie, but if you think about the festival circuit, it's a business, right? So like if there's a 2 hour block, right? And the truth is they need people to buy tickets to their festival so that they're profitable, right? So you can't have 2 40-minute movies because you're not going to get the audience base of those filmmakers and everyone they know and everyone they know. So I would just say, generally speaking, I think the sweet spot is probably like 15 and under. But, if you think about it, like if there's 6 5-minute films, that's going to be 5 times the audience base, most likely, especially in a short, than it would be to have these other ones. So I think that's where, if you are making a film, like keeping it nice and tight, even, I mean, I hate saying this, but just to consider the fact that, the festivals will be more likely to screen you, because even ours, I love the length, and I like it being longer. And to be honest with you, our purpose is not those festivals. Those are bonuses. We're happy to be there and we're thankful. But end of the day is we're making something a lot bigger. But I think like if you want to make something for festivals, like the shorter that you make it, the more likely they are to be like, okay, we can see this. It's short. It's 8 minutes, and we can do a bunch of them.
Yeah, it's a really good point. I mean, because as a podcast, we take that calculus into consideration. When you bring a guest on, you're like, well, I wonder who are they bringing to watch the episode?
Correct.
Right? Like we'll promote it and that'll do fine. But it does go into the consideration, because sometimes you run into people that have a big audience built in, and anything they do is going to get watched or looked at. So you consider that. Okay, that's good. Other times, maybe it's somebody that's brand new, and it may be them and maybe one other person that's going to watch it. And that's fine too, but you need to know that when you're making that.
You got to do 50-50. Now the studios, they want to go 100% in now into that avenue, which is why I go shame on them, because as independent producers, and we have to think about that because we don't have that. But that's where I would urge the bigger girls and boys up top to be like, okay, well, you have money to market this, so you don't need that. You don't need additional.
I think that, and dare I say it, but I think that one of the biggest missteps in modern cinema with the studio systems, and don't get me wrong, I love a lot of movies that come out of the studio system, nothing against them, but I remember when there was a shift and the marketing team started using algorithms. I'm not a big fan. I'm a little leery with technology and AI and all this stuff. I'm kind of old school. And I was kind of leery when that started coming in, because I feel like back in the day, the marketing teams that marketed these movies, they could take a movie that was really difficult to market and they would find a way to market it. And I feel like that was the challenge. That's what these people did. And they were so hands-on. And then this shift to algorithms, it's like plugging in data and kind of letting it do it. And it's like, oh, well, according to this movie's not going to be super marketable. Let's not put the dollars at it. But if the film is incredible and there's an audience, and I'm sure there's an audience out there, if they went old school in the marketing, I mean, there's 1,000,001 ways to market.
I don't think any of us really care for algorithms. I mean, just dealing with them on social media is exhausting, because, and you get a lot of complaints because you got to be careful what you put out there, because you don't want the algorithm to pick up something that gets you in trouble. But you also want the algorithm to pick up the stuff you want it to pick up.
Yeah, it's like a double-edged sword. Yeah, it's a double-edged sword.
I'd rather have just actual people to deal with.
Yeah. And maybe there's a medium there, right? Like maybe the studios, maybe there's a happy medium where they can look at some of that data and plug it in and all that, but that there's still that kind of like hardcore marketing team that there's potential here. I see we can do this, this, and this, and it will reach people. There's so many different ways.
Well, sports does that. You have scouts, and then you have the analytical data that they use, and they kind of combine both. Right. So So where can people see the film? The short film. Is the plan to release it at some point where we can watch it? Where can we watch?
So right now the short is not available publicly because we're on the festival circuit right now. But the trailer is available on IMDb. And we worked really hard on that trailer. So
it's really good trailer.
I'm glad you liked it. It was that's a process in itself, by the way. I mean, to anyone who's ever dealt with helping somebody or watching somebody edit a trailer or worked with a trailer editor, that is an art in itself. It blew my mind. I had no idea.
Well, yeah, because you don't want to give too much away, but you
Right.
want to give enough that's going to get people excited to see it.
Yeah,
Right.
and so we've the trailer's up on IMDb, which is great. I'm really proud of the trailer. I think it really showcases the film and the cast, and I think it gets people interested in wanting to see the short. At some point, maybe the short will be available publicly. Obviously, right now, because we're doing the festival circuit, we can't have it just online.
Well, that's right. That's right.
Eventually.
Yeah, and like to just reiterate it too, I mean, I'm thankful, and I think anybody, like I said, making anything is really great, but like the process of us making this is for the ambitions of the feature, which is done, and the TV show, which is accessible. So yes, it will probably definitely be available, but it's also the material that we're using for our investors and for the things that we need to do to continue the process of getting everyone collectively the full-length version that we think will be way even more exciting and more up your alley. So I think, if anything, just the biggest thing for people listening is if they can just support that and comment and engage in the stuff that we're putting out on our Instagram, which we need to be way better about. But we have an Instagram for funeral.
Social media is hard.
It's hard, yeah, and we're gonna be better about that. But just like as we move forward and as momentum gains, just like sending the stuff around and things like your podcast, which are just like so cool and supportive of artists like us, we just really appreciate that. And it will come full. You will be able to see it definitely, and we hope that it'll be even like an even bigger version of that world.
It's going to be a good time. The feature it's got a lot of, I mean, to anybody who enjoys a good buddy comedy, a good a road movie, or anything in that world, and even people that just casually enjoy a comedy, I feel like there's a lot of heart and soul in the feature, and a lot of comedy, a lot of fun. And I feel like our goal is that anybody could sit down and enjoy this movie of all age groups, age ranges. I mean, maybe not. It's going to be, it's R-rated, but maybe like 17 and up.
I don't know about
like a 12-year-old watching it. Do not
17 and up, whatever I would call it a hard R. So yeah,
12 to 110, 15 to 110 are eligible.
Some kids were allowed to watch R-rated.
Box.
Well, when I was 14, 15, we were sneaking into the R.
That's right. And I'm hoping that people are, because I did that. And so if people sneak into this movie, then I'm even happier.
That's right. That's right.
See it however you can. We're happy you're watching it. I mean, that's
some of the best movies I saw, I'm not even sure the movie was that good. I was just so excited that I got in there.
Yeah, you're in there.
Yeah.
It's the rush.
It's the rush.
Yeah.
Simpler times.
This movie's Legally Blonde. Yeah, but I'm in it.
I'm in it.
But I'm in.
I snuck in.
I remember going when I first got my driver's license, and I took a group of guys to a neighboring city to see a movie, and I wasn't allowed to drive on the interstate yet. I mean, I just got my driver's license, and I was so nervous and it was like a 10-minute drive. It was nothing. But then, we went to a scary movie. The movie was so much scarier, and I think it was because I was so hyped up from being nervous about being in trouble for driving somewhere I wasn't supposed to. It made the movie so much better.
Yeah. Sometimes the experience before getting to the movie adds to the experience.
This might be our marketing campaign now.
Yeah.
We might have something here. We're gonna
Scared teenagers. That's what we need.
Teenagers to come to Funeral Parlor, drive illegally, get them a little amped up, get them a couple slushies.
That's right.
I think Zach, what we should drive the hearse to the premieres. I think that was a great idea.
Oh, you should.
Yeah,
that's an amazing idea.
You can do pictures with it and all kinds of stuff. And yeah, we plan on that. Like, we have some festivals circled. I mean, this film obviously shot in the Midwest, so we have some things upcoming, and we're super excited to bring it around.
Yeah, you'll have to keep me posted if you come on our end of the country. We'll
where are you at now?
I'm in West Virginia, so yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, around us anywhere, we'll sneak out for it.
Yeah,
awesome. Sneak in.
Yeah, and you'll have that same.
Yeah, we'll sneak out and sneak in.
Yeah, we're gonna sneak in.
I felt like we went to like in 2020, literally like right before everything shut down, we were at Sundance, and that's kind of how I felt, because when you first go to a festival, you have no clue how it operates. So you're kind of just randomly showing up for stuff. You don't even know, I'm like, I was just trying to get into some stuff. I didn't even know what I was watching. And then you sit down and you're like, what am I here for?
It's like the Wild Wild West, man. You just like drop into these and you never know how there's so much going on at once and people are everywhere and you're just in the midst of chaos. It's fun. It's a whole different world. The festival.
It really is, because you get, usually at the end of them, you get the interaction with the people that created, the stuff you just watched. So you get a little Q&A and stuff like a lot of them. Festivals are pretty fun if you've never been.
Yeah, we talked to some great filmmakers in Soho as well. Like, it was great. They would come up to us and they were just like, your film was incredible. And we had saw their work and their work was great. And it was just a cool community to interact with everybody and get some feedback and give them some feedback and however, help each other out. Help each other out with that stuff.
Well, thank you guys for taking a little bit of time. I think it sounds awesome. The trailer was great. I can't wait to see the whole thing. But I'm holding out that it's like a feature and a series both.
It's coming. It's coming.
Yeah, let's get it out.
It's coming.
And also, guys, I'm so sorry. I have to run only because I'm gonna catch a flight. So I'm about to jump on. But Michael,
he's sneaking out and sneaking in somewhere.
I'm sneaking out and I'm nervous about it now. And
we're hyped up.
I'll leave them with a cool piece of trivia I think that the audience might find interesting. During the shutdowns and the chaos of the world with COVID and the strikes and all of that stuff, Zach and I actually did the pre-production for this movie over a year and a half over Zoom. So the entire pre-production for this film, including the casting and everything, we did over. He was in LA, I was here in Florida, and we did all of that via Zoom and phone call, hundreds and hundreds of phone calls. But it can be done. It can be done, especially with
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, hey, Zach, before you go, where can we find you on social media?
Yeah, so it's just at Zachary Rusin. So it's just So if you're on Instagram, Zachary Rusin.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Zach. I'll finish up with these guys, but safe flight.
I love these guys, and I really appreciate you taking the time with us, and to everyone listening. Like, thank you. It really does mean the world to us. So
yeah, of course, of course.
Good luck, guys. Bye.
Later, bro.
Zachary. And then there were 3.
And then now we're down to 3.
I should do that. I should have like 15 or 20 guests on at one time. And see who can last the longest.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like See,
like Squid Game.
Yeah, you get a little prize at the end.
Get a prize at the end. Yeah, that's awesome.
You're like, this guy just keeps asking me questions. It's been 6 hours.
We're just here for 24 hours, 24-hour podcast.
Just until people have mentally they've tapped out. They can't.
Yeah, they're done. Well, when we first started, my son and I, we were so excited to be doing it. We would have episodes that would run a couple hours long. It'd be movie length episodes, way too long. And we figured out pretty quick, you got to pare that down. There's only so much that somebody will watch, in one sitting or listen to, they maybe if they're traveling cross country, they might listen to a longer episode, but we learned, you start paring them down a little.
You dial it in. You get
it a little more manageable. Well, okay. Definitely. So, Kyle, where can we find you on social media?
I have Instagram. I'm kind of bad at it, but it's you can look me up by my name or Dotson85, DOTSON 85 is the.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. And, what's the story with that one?
It's just 2 movie references. So like Dotson was from Jurassic Park originally. The guy was like Dotson.
Yep.
Yeah, that's just a Jurassic Park.
That's why I asked. I wondered if it had a connection.
I like movies. As if anyone,
same.
You can't tell.
And then 85 is just a reference to Back to the Future because it came out in 1985. So I just put 2 movie references together.
I'm in the grandparent stage, and I'm waiting for the grandkids to get old enough that I can show them the Back to the Future movies.
Oh, dude, that's my favorite trilogy, I think.
Oh, it's the best. It's the best. And the oldest one's just 5, so I'm going to have to wait a little while.
Yeah, but it's
although those you can, those are pretty family friendly.
I was watching those when I was a kid.
Me too.
Yeah, they're PG.
They're PG. So how about you, Trevor? Where can we find you?
You guys can find me on social media. It's just my first and last name, Trevor Larkham, on Instagram, TikTok, everything. And yeah, check me out there.
Did you watch the new season of True Detective?
I have not yet. Have you?
Oh yeah, it's good.
I should watch it.
Oh, I mean Jodie Foster, come on.
That show was so awesome to work on. That was so cool. Like I look back on that and I'm like, oh my gosh, like that was such a blessing to be able to work on that.
That's amazing. I mean, it's for an anthology. It's so well done. I mean, each season is worth watching for that season, not the show. You know, it's just each season's like its own show within.
That's a really cool way they did that. I think a lot of shows should start doing it like that because then it won't get repetitive and you'll get more like, I don't know. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
I like that, and I like how Flanagan and some of them do it, where they bring back the same actors, but it's a different story each time.
Very cool. Yeah,
I think that's kind of cool.
Or like American Horror Story, they do that.
Yeah. That's another one. Yeah, where it's the same actors. That's kind of cool. You get to see them.
Very cool.
As an actor, you probably love that. You're like,
working,
and it's a different role every time.
Yeah, the diversity. You can show your ability.
Yeah, that's a great. I would love to do something like that at some point where it's the same series and you get to do completely different. Or if you're toying with alternate univeres and anything like that,
play different. That's You're showing your nerd side there.
It's probably presented itself several times during this.
Is Happy Endings does it have its own website or anything anywhere we can go just to look up that?
Yeah, so I mean, it's obviously we got the IMDb page, and then it does have an Instagram. I should have brought that up before. Sorry, Funeral Parlor Movie is the handle.
Oh yeah.
Zach and I were trying to manage it ourselves. Again, we're gonna try to get somebody.
You got to get a guy or a girl, but a person. Yeah. You got to get a person.
Yeah, there's some stuff on there. There's and we'll be updating it more. But yeah, I mean, either or IMDb, and then Funeral Parlor Movie on Instagram to check out some of the stuff.
You've got to have some good like off-camera moments that you could throw up there. There's with that cast and stuff, there had to be some moments that you got caught on film.
There's an entire hard drive full of behind the scenes that we've just started going through. So I'm excited because I know Zach wanted to do some kind of snippet stuff out of there. So there's a lot of gold to mine from with actors between takes and fun stuff like that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, best of luck, guys, and thanks for the time. It looks amazing. I'm so excited for you because I think in a year or two we're going to see this in a bigger form. I can't wait. It's such a great idea, and good for you for sticking to it, Kyle. Because most of us we come up with stuff years ago and it just sits, or we forget.
Yeah, I mean, my advice to any artists out there, any film, aspiring filmmakers is like, even if you have to do it on a really small scale, if you believe in the story and you've done the work with the heart of the story and the characters, go for it. Reach out to people, put together whatever little amount of money you can. These days you can go shoot digital. As much as I'm a diehard 35mm film fan, but we shot digital because we had to, and there's nothing wrong with it. Shoot digital, use a DSLR if you have to, and go make it. There's so many ways to do it now. So get out there and do it.
Awesome. All right, guys, hold on 1 second. How fun were the three of them, Trevor, Zachary, and Kyle? And what a great idea. Happy Endings Funeral Parlor. Make sure that you keep an eye out for that and that you're supporting these guys. Go to imdb.com, look it up, watch the trailer. It looks hilarious. I'm not kidding on that. I think this is going to do really well. Love Spencer Breslin. He's been on the show. If you're a fan of his, you can look up that episode. But I think he always seems to look for those quirky little projects that he can have a role in. He does such a great job, and I'm such a fan of Corbin's. And then the rest of the cast is awesome too. Check them out. You're going to enjoy it. And I like the fact that they're concentrating on the script and the dialogue. That's the part. And those of you that have watched the show, our show for a while, know that that's the part that I love. And it's a lot of times what screws shows and movies up when they don't do well. my opinion, it's usually because the story isn't good or the dialogue. The story might be, the idea may be great. Maybe the dialogue's not very well done. That really hurts it. That's not going to be the case with this one. It's really well done. It's well thought out. I can't wait for it. I can't wait for it. And these guys are experienced. Trevor, you've seen him, I'm sure, on Fresh Off the Boat. He played Trent. He was in Teachers, which I thought was an underrated show. He played Blake. He had an appearance or maybe several episodes of Fuller House. I'm pretty sure that he did an episode of Scorpion. I meant to ask him, but I'm pretty sure he did. And then, of course, he was Chad on I think the second season of True Detective, if I remember correctly. Really, really good. You're going to love this film. Can't wait to check that out. I meant to ask Kyle. He's got an idea that's going through the. It's kind of like they take a horror feature and turn it into a graphic novel. And I'm a comic book guy, so I meant to ask him about that. It's called The Hollow Realm. Keep an eye out for that one in case it gets made into a graphic novel. I think that'd be a lot of fun. Zachary, I loved him in Romeo and Juliet Killers. I thought he was really good in that. And I think he did an episode maybe of Into the Dark. I think that's right. The talented group, and obviously they get along well. I love that. Just a terrific time. Thank you guys for finding us. If this is your first time with us, appreciate that so much. If you can believe it, we've been doing this for it'll be 6 years this January, and we're getting ready. Well, today we're going to hit episode 850. I can't believe it. That's such a large number, and that's all due to the guests we've had on the show. I know you're not here to see me, but I'm pretty confident that the guests that we've had would stand up with any other show, podcast, talk show, anything. We've been really blessed with our guest list. So I don't care if you're not here for me. Come for them. I'm not here for me either. I'm just a film and TV buff and nerdy and just love to talk to people. So that's why I'm here. But if you found us for the first time, our YouTube channel is MeisterCon Pod. Please subscribe. It's free. Really helps us out. Our website is meistercon.com. You can find all 850 of those episodes, audio and video versions. If we're doing anything in studio, if we're going on location, or if we're going to a film festival, a convention, anything we have going on will be on the website, meistercon.com. So please check us out there. If you go to IMDb to watch the trailer to Happy Endings Funeral Parlor, make sure you go to the Too Opinionated podcast page and check us out there as well. IMDb named us the top 100 podcast. 15 million podcasts out there, making somebody's top 100 list pretty special. So check us out there as well, imdb.com. Thank you guys so much. I will try to shut up now. Until next time. Bye, everybody.